Welcome to Leadership Corner. The Leadership Corner is a forum where leaders from the non-governmental organizations, United Nations, local and national governments can come together to share their insights, their motivation to provide assistance to people and communities affected by natural and man-made disasters. Our guest today at the Leadership Corner is Gisli Olafsson, who wears many hats. He is part of Microsoft's disaster response team. He is the team leader for the Icelandic urban search and rescue team. Gisli, by the way, recently just returned from leading the Icelandic team in Haiti. He's also a member of the UNDAC team. Gisli, welcome to the Leadership Corner.
Thank you.
Now, can you, by way of introduction here, just explain how you got into this field? I mean, how did it become that you're a member of the Microsoft team, that you're a member of the UNDAC team, you're a part of the leading efforts for the Icelandic search and rescue team?
Yeah, so it all started back in 1993 when I joined a search and rescue team in Iceland. In Iceland, we build all of our search and rescue and actually most of our disaster management on volunteers. So it was something that made me interested in this, the ability to help others. And I started out doing the normal work of running up the mountains to rescue people or search for missing people. But I actually discovered quickly that my strength was actually in coordinating what people were doing. So that kind of led me into more of the incident management role, and doing that then led me into doing this on an international basis through like the UNDAC teams. And then for a number of reasons, Microsoft 3 years ago decided to put up a disaster response team, and I was lucky enough to find out about it, because you don't always find out what happens within a 90,000 person company, and I applied to become part of that and was quickly hired to do that role. So now I've managed to take my passion and my work and join that together in the same thing. Sometimes that creates problems because you don't know when your work ends and when your hobby or passion takes over. So sometimes it causes long working days, but hey, as long as it's something that's giving, that's quite good.
That's a good lead in the next question I have here, which has to do with your motivation to stay engaged. This is a very difficult environment to work in, moving from one disaster to the next. Obviously dealing with the pain, the suffering, the complexity of disasters. What keeps you going? What allows you to stay focused with regard to this job?
I think one of the key things that keeps me going is to see the rewards of your work. And I was often asked back when I started doing search and rescue, why do you wake up in the middle of the night to run out to start searching for people? Why do you go out on Christmas Eve away from your family to help find someone who is missing? And I always say it's the smile I see when a parent is reunited with a missing kid, or when a child knows that its parent has been found. And the same thing, for example, in Haiti, seeing people being rescued and seeing the relatives come and see, that their loved one has been found. That smile keeps me going for a number of years, because that's what's up here in my mind afterwards, it's those rewards.
Right. Now you have recently come back from Haiti, and it's all in the press now, in the news. This is one of the largest catastrophic events that not only hit the island of Haiti, but in terms of its impact to a single nation, to a people, there really is not too many comparisons out there. How do you see the current response unfolding from your views at the field level?
So we were one of one of the first, or the first, international teams to actually arrive in Haiti following the earthquake. So some of the things that we were able to see before everybody else came was to see what the situation actually was inside Port-au-Prince as we got there. And it was definitely for us a realization that things were of a much bigger nature than we had ever thought we were going into. We not only was the destruction at a much higher scale than we expected, but also the number of bodies we saw lying on the streets certainly made us realize that this was no minor disaster that we were going into. Now, during the first few days, you saw a lot of confusion. You saw a lot of problems come up. It was hard to coordinate. There were few people to do the coordination, and there were actually very few teams that were getting in. It took teams quite some time to get in because of issues with transportation, logistical, flights getting in, and so on. And as always during these first initial days, there's a lot of chaotic things, and the coordination that happens is actually, it relies on that chaos, and it tries to use that and try to just steer it in certain routes. But you could see immediately, I would say on day 5, 6, that things were starting to become a little more organized. However, what you often see during these kind of disasters is that not everybody necessarily wants to be coordinated. Some of the teams that were coming in were not always just thinking about coming in there to be part of this international system of how do you do a response, but maybe more focusing on their own citizens that might be in the country and be lost, or on other things that sometimes for us were a mystery why. We had a team that we saw there that drove around the airport and took pictures, but never seemed to be doing any rescues or going out. So, of course, you always find these disaster tourists as well. Mm-hmm. But it's also the scale. Within the first week, we had 52 urban search and rescue teams, over 1,800 people and over 180 dogs. That is the biggest urban search and rescue effort ever. And at the same time, you had in total over 500 organizations coming in to respond. Mm-hmm. And trying to coordinate all of that is a big task.
Mm-hmm. Whose job is it to coordinate all of this? I mean, we hear whether we're talking about the tsunami, we're talking about other catastrophic events. Coordination, as you pointed out here, has always been thrown out as something that either when it works, we see some immediate positive impacts, but when it doesn't work, we also obviously see the negative ramifications. But whose job is it to coordinate, and what is effective coordination, and what is bad coordination?
Mm-hmm. So within the international community, at least when it comes to the urban search and rescue teams, there is a predefined way in which we should operate. There is a predefined way that says that the international teams that are coming in should work with the UN, and the UN should be the one, in collaboration with the local government, should be coordinating the effort. Mm-hmm. And what you see is that coordination, it is chaotic at first, but it does get a little more organized as the days go by. Mm-hmm. However, the big problem with this system is the fact that as a team, you have to be willing to be coordinated by the UN. And as I said earlier, there's not always all the teams that want that, and they may be taking directions from their ministries or from back home that's saying you should be looking here and here and here, because we may have citizens of our countries there, and not think about, the overall picture, and sometimes that leads to replication of effort or gaps being left because of that. So when we try to talk about good coordination, you want to make sure that you are utilizing the resources you have as good as you can. That there is no duplication, that there's no gaps. But in order for that to work, again, the teams and the organizations have to be willing to participate.